It's honestly kind of strange thinking back that this entire literal obsession just happened because of pure dumb luck when I got impatient watching Pokemon. I'm what happened when you never leave your dinosaur phase. It's basically what happens to a Godzilla fan. You never outgrow it. You just don't. Thank you guys. We've all got our own history with Godzilla, and I'd like to know yours. This actually wasn't even anywhere near close to the original video I was going to be planning to do today. But when my grandma reminded me that my birthday was, well, the day after this video goes up, I thought the original video I had planned that was going to go up might not be the best one to put up. And I'd like to let those cook a little bit more before I send them out. Hi everyone, I'm Max Allo, and today we're going to be talking about just our personal histories with Godzilla, what he means to us, what he's done for us, and really just a giant thank you to the greatest fictional character ever made. If you guys haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe for more, and comment what your history with Godzilla is. What are your favorite things about him? What are the things that, maybe you don't like as much, but you can still enjoy? And really any fun stories involving Godzilla you have. We're gonna kind of go a little bit non-existent script for this, so if we start rambling, I apologize in advance. Now, Godzilla is one of those series that it's kind of hard to explain certain things, because it's hard to put into words the kind of joy and just, well, yeah, actually, no, the joy that I get from watching, some of the more, comparatively goofy movies, like Godzilla fighting a freaking time-traveling Dragonborg, to immediately seeing a movie like Godzilla -1, which is freaking dark, grim, and serious to basically the extreme. There's a little bit of, tonal whiplash, because, they do swing very wildly from very different, tones, but it never feels out of place. Even if you have a movie like, say, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, where, again, there's time travel, there's all kind of craziness with that, and then you got a movie like -1, it still feels Godzilla. It still keeps a lot of those core essential aspects. It's not like, say, watching something like the DC animated universe, things like the Batman, the animated series, Superman, the animated series, Justice League, and then watching something like Batman v Superman, and yes, the tones are very different, and the nature of the series is different, but there's a very different feel. It feels out of place. The two don't feel like the same kind of thing. And now that for Batman v Superman is a few reasons, but that's kind of what I mean. It's how you can get some movies like Godzilla Tokyo SOS, Godzilla vs. Destroya, GMK, which is literally one of the first Godzilla movies I ever saw, actually the first one I ever saw in full, Godzilla 2014, and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, which mix this sort of, goofier, more spectacle, fun story ideas. At the same time, they also do lean a lot more on having a lot of more serious undercurrents to it. It's not really something that a lot of other series can do. And not only do, maintain that for, 5-6 decades at this point? As for how I found Godzilla, it was, as I said at the start, just simple, pure, dumb, stupid luck. Back when we had, I think we had DirecTV, I think that's what it was. Cartoon Network was right below the Sci-Fi Channel back before they changed their name from Sci-Fi to Sci-Fi, and it was one channel above Cartoon Network, and it's actually the episode of Pokemon where Ash's Charizard is fighting Magmar, Blaine's Magmar, off the top of the volcano, and it actually was the exact part where frickin' Charizard's seismic toss just power slams Magmar into the caldera, and it got to commercial, as they always like to do in the middle of the fun, and my brother and I, because we had absolutely zero patience back when I was a wee little Allosaurus, hit the remote to scroll up to Nickelodeon. We didn't know what the actual channel number was for Nickelodeon, so we just hit the channel up button until it landed on Nickelodeon. And as it turned out, Nickelodeon was also on a commercial break. So we would just keep clicking back and forth between the two channels, waiting to see which one would come back first. As it turned out, Sci-Fi had been on a commercial at the same time when we first went through. And when it came back, it was right in the middle of the final battle of Godzilla 2000. And we just saw this giant dragony dinosaur monster thing fighting. I honestly don't even know what to describe Orga as. And it was just, I didn't know it at the time, but just a switch was just flipped. After that, every single week that the freaking TV catalog schedule thing came in, I'd take it, put it in the living room floor, take a freaking pen or highlight or whatever it is, and just look through every single line by line, every single day of the week, looking for a Godzilla movie after my dad told me what Godzilla was. So, this one's to you, Dad. After that, when we saw those were on TV, we tried to record them on freaking VHS tapes. I've still got a couple of them. Sadly, a few of them are missing. Got Smog Monster. First Godzilla movie I ever saw in full. GMK. Honestly, for as much of a deviation from like the classic Godzilla lore is, and as much as I do love the classical Godzilla lore, I love GMK. GMK is probably as far from like a traditional Godzilla movie as you can get, and I still love it. It's like, at the end of the day, Godzilla can take on so many different shapes, forms, reasons, and personalities, but he's always Godzilla. You know, it's truly hard to have that scale of appeal every different era. There is a simple magic to them that you can't replicate. Sure, the title ebb and flow every so often, but I mean, even look at recently, like, yeah, superheroes were huge for, decade and some change, but now it's quietly starting to go. And I mean, kaiju have been doing kaiju things since the 50s. 70 years, I mean, that's pretty consistent. Yeah, the Showa era, the Heisei era, honestly, I largely see them as, kind of one and the same. More of them, fairly long stories told over many years. And the Showa era, yeah, it did lean a lot on aliens, especially towards the end. But even the Heisei era kind of did the same, with leaning very heavily when it came to, like, just clones of Godzilla or things that are directly meant to just be counterparts to him. I mean, Biollante, Space Godzilla, and even Destroya are all pretty much just clones of him. That's the reason why Destroya's final form is what it is. It took Godzilla's DNA to essentially become a clone of him. And King Ghidorah in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is actually a counterpart to Godzilla, essentially replacing him in the original timeline. There's all kinds of weird timeline shenanigans with that movie because of Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. It hurts your brain to think about, but in the fun way. It's not... The time travel in that is not nearly as well thought out as, like, even Terminator doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when, like, the time travel comes in there. And, obviously Mechagodzilla is literally just chromed out Godzilla. Millennium Era, it's an anthology series. You've got everything from, like, the very, very dark and really kind of serious GMK, which, still kind of mixed in, all these, more whimsical elements, like, the fact that it's souls controlling the monsters. And you get that immediately smash cut to frickin' Final Wars. It's like, even Godzilla 98, Zilla, I have a very soft spot for. That was actually probably one of my most watched Godzilla movies for a very long time. That was one of the VHS tape ones we had, and I don't remember if the tape just burned out from how much I watched it at my grandma's cottage, or just we lost it, because after a while my dad would take us to the library every time we go to visit our grandmother's cottage, and we just rent that and a couple of other Godzilla movies. In fact, that was actually where I finally realized the first Godzilla movie I ever saw was Godzilla 2000. Was because we went there and we just were looking for Godzilla movies, and it just so happened that one of the times we went there, Godzilla 2000 was there. Shin's a as drawn out in some cases as Shin is, he's a silly goober. I like Shin. He amuses me very goodly. And Monsterverse will probably always be my favorite version of Godzilla. That I might have some issues with the Monsterverse as a series story-wise, but Monsterverse Godzilla that's my Godzilla. You know, everyone's got like their Batman, their Superman, their version of an individual character. Even though he's not the Godzilla I grew up with, Monsterverse Godzilla is my Godzilla. And then there's minus one, which that movie has a story that just a specialness to me that no other Godzilla movie or really no other movie ever will be able to rival. It's kind of a tradition with my brother and my dad and I that we go and we see movies together. In fact, the first time we ever did this was when Peter Jackson's King Kong came out. That's what started this whole thing. And he moved away because he doesn't like the snow here. Obviously, being a cold-blooded reptile, I don't disagree with mesothermic. But yeah, he moved away because he doesn't like dealing with the cold and the snow, which honestly, hard to disagree. And he comes to visit, every Christmas. You have no idea how agonizing it was to dodge spoilers for minus one for a month and a half until he got here. And then we went to go see it in theaters together. Japanese dub, English sub. That is... It... Minus one terrified the crap out of me. It's a very good kind of terror that movie gives you. And it brought me back to all those days where I would sit way too close to the big TV in the living room as Dad VHS recorded the movies as they were on TV. I'm what happened when you never leave your dinosaur phase. It's basically what happens to a Godzilla fan. You never outgrow it. You just don't. Yeah, there's only, well, of the 5 Monsterverse movies, we only ever saw 2 of them without him. One of them was Godzilla 2014, and that is its own story. That is a story in itself. And then the other one was Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, because he wasn't home when it came out. And we were discussing about not going to see it until he got in, which would be it would be almost 8 months later is when he would come in and we'd be able to watch it together. And he told us it's okay to see it without him. Watching the movies together is something we've always done, but he understood that how much it would mean to me to be able to see that movie day one. Because when we saw Godzilla versus Kong, that was actually after I'd spent a very, very long time losing a lot of weight so that I could actually fit into my Godzilla shirt I got for Godzilla 2014 again. Losing 50 pounds just to fit into a Godzilla shirt I got at the time 7 years prior. That is not a day I'm going to forget. I was waiting so anxiously for that shirt to arrive. I was checking, every basically 5 minutes, did the shirt arrive at home yet? Because it was the day Godzilla 2014 was coming to theaters, and that thing was and the package was gonna arrive. And I didn't know if it was gonna arrive or not, because I was gonna get out of school, gonna go home, and then we're gonna go straight to the theater. It was like 4:00 showing, no time to wait around, and the freaking shirt arrived like 15-20 minutes before I got home. I don't really wear that shirt anymore because it's very special, but it's just, there's so much with it. And anytime a Godzilla movie comes out, I wear that shirt to the theater. If it's not clear, a lot of people I know that they look up to characters like Goku or Superman or, various heroes and things, Godzilla was always mine. I would always look up to Godzilla, and he would inspire me to be better. Which is one of the reasons why is just I get a lot of mood whiplash whenever I watch things like -1 and Shin. And honestly, the first time I ever saw Godzilla, the original Gojira, that terrified I got no sleep that night. I don't even remember when I got this, but my grandmother got me the Toho Classics collection. Gojira, Godzilla King of the Monsters, the Americanized version, Raids Again, Mothra vs. Godzilla, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Invasion of Astro Monster. Is it Godzilla's Revenge? Is that the other one? It's a collection of like 6-7 movies, and I binge watched just like all of them. Well, not all of them, a good number of them. It's English dub and Japanese dub with subtitles. I have both of them, and I watched like the original for the first time at like midnight. So just like freaking cocooned up in my blankets in the middle of winter, watching them at midnight on Christmas break. I got no sleep that night, and then right after I finished that, I put in Raids Again, and then after that, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. I'll also really be the first to admit that I do have a bit of a soft spot for Zilla. It was probably the Godzilla movie I watched the most, maybe tied with Godzilla Tokyo SOS and Against Mechagodzilla, or GMK, because of how often I used to watch it when going up to my grandmother's cottage. And, when we went up there as well, we would bring our tapes we had of Godzilla the series. It was far from complete. I think it was maybe not even a fifth of the entire series, but I would watch the heck out of those. And honestly, it was freaking amazing when I found the entire series on YouTube. I don't know if it's still up on YouTube, but yeah, finding the entire series on YouTube, even, however many years later, I've rewatched them. I don't even know how many times even post that. Now, I do wish that I could really remember my first time experiencing a lot of the Godzilla movies. It's just been so long that they've kind of just blended together. I do know the last Heisei era Godzilla movie I saw was Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. That I remember seeing on Easter one year. Finally found it after I don't know how long searching. And even only as recently as like freaking year and a half. It's not even a year and a half. No, maybe a year and a half. No, a year and a half. No. It about 10 months. It's been like 10 months since I actually saw the entirety of the Netflix anime series, the Godzilla Planet of Monsters series, and Godzilla Singular Point. Only reason I watched those, funny story, because I actually had to dog sit for someone for about 3 days. They had Netflix at their house. They said, yeah, you can use Netflix. They had Netflix, Disney Plus, all the kind of stuff, and they said, you can watch whatever you want on them. And I started watching Godzilla Planet of Monsters first. I started watching it in English, and it took me, I kid you not, about 15 minutes to find how to switch the language over from English to Japanese. Because I actually have never used Netflix before. Yeah, I don't have Netflix, feel free to roast me. But yeah, it took me 15 minutes to figure out how that worked. And then, right when we finished the third movie, started immediately getting working on Singular Point. Yeah, it's so many stories and so many ones that I can't even remember. Yeah, even at work, some of my coworkers have made jokes about my obsession with Godzilla, which, they're not wrong. In the break room, just the Godzilla theme popped up on their phone. My head just picked up and head bolted over to them. And they just said, "You've got a problem." And I just burst out laughing. I was like, yeah, I do. When something shapes your life in a lot of ways, it's kind of hard not to be obsessed by it. Even just beyond being the reason to lose all that weight to fit into that shirt again, Godzilla's influenced me in a lot of other ways to inspire me to write my own kaiju stories, which we are still working on. But making this channel, which was actually very, very important for me, is one thing I haven't really talked a lot about is I do periodically get imposter syndrome that comes up. For those who don't know what that is, it's essentially this almost like existential crisis of feeling like you don't deserve what you've gotten. And just, seeing all you guys here week after week, it really helps with that. Helps overcome that, I guess, is probably the better way to phrase it. I guess it's probably time to mention this, but there's a reason I joke about the VTuber Buen Watts being terminal, because we are going to be getting one of those made. And let's just say you might be able to find a little bit of Godzilla inspiration here and there with it. When will it be coming out? I don't freaking know, because I'm not done even designing the preliminary concept yet. The old saying, if you love something, set it free. If it's meant to be, it'll come back to you. And Godzilla has very much been that. My first channel I made was honestly over 11, 12 years ago. And it was basically going to be more or less like what Cinemaster did with his Godzilla reviews. It was going to be a movie review channel. And it crashed and burned big time. Getting made fun of in school because people found out about it was not exactly a fun time. That channel is now long since deleted. But that dream lived on and was reborn in this. Because in the lead up to Godzilla Kong the New Empire, I made a video on the main channel, well actually I guess at this point the secondary channel, Maxis, just about kaiju. And that was really the best doing video that channel had, and that's a channel where we're doing gaming stuff and predominantly Pokemon, not movie discussions, and it absolutely hit big. And that's the very, that's not the very beginning, that is literally the entire reason this channel exists. That even days after, it was still doing well. And so, we made this channel. Somewhere to go into absolutely autistic detail on all things kaiju, and, well, there's a lot of other things that we're going to be talking about on this channel as well, not just kaiju. We've talked a little bit about Transformers, some anime, and while they don't do as well, I do plan on doing a lot more with them. But at the end of the day, Godzilla will always be Godzilla. Whether he is a big rubber suit, CGI, an anime Netflix series where he's a time-traveling extra-dimensional eldritch abomination, to embodying very different concepts. The atomic nuclear terror he originally was, as well as the sympathetic victim of such destruction, to Earth's atomic protector, as he has also come to be known as. Even Zilla, something that I actually do have a very significant amount of love for. I will always love this series. I definitely go pretty harsh on it in a number of aspects, particularly the monsterverse, but I'm critical because I love it. All the little differences, all the little imperfections in every installment of Godzilla, they're what make them all special. I honestly feel like I'm kind of talking in circles here, because I really don't know what else I'm kind of to say, because like it's this weird combination of it feels like there is so much to say, but at the same time I feel like I'm also running out of things to say. It's hard to explain, but I think maybe this is where we should start wrapping things up. If you guys haven't done so already, and if you guys are even watching this far into the video, God bless you for watching this far. Please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more. If you made it this far, I'm willing to bet you love kaiju as much as we do. And We got a lot more stuff planned for that. I'll see you guys next time. I don't really know actually which video idea is going to be next, because we're cooking so many different ideas. It's like freaking Founding Titan viewing timelines. Everything just blurs together after a while. We'll see what it is when it's made. Thank you. I've been Max Allo, and long live the Kaiju King.